Tonight, 10 on Your Side remembers the tragedy in Virginia Beach. 1 year later, 12 men and women killed and 4 critically hurt 12 months ago today. A day that forever changed the city and all of Hampton Roads. Good evening. I'm Anita Blanton.
And I'm Tom Shad. Anita and I are practicing social distancing during the coronavirus pandemic. We're in the studio, but more than 6 feet apart as we bring you this 30-minute special report on the lives lost on May 31st, 2019. Tonight, we'll talk to those who were there, the survivors, the witnesses, the police, the dispatchers. Some of these heroes have never publicly talked about the tragedy. But first, we want to recap the moments as they happened. 10 on Your Side, Stephanie Harris has a minute-by-minute look at how the events unfolded.
It was Friday afternoon, just as people were preparing to start their weekends, when disgruntled employee Dwayne Craddock entered Building 2 between 4 and 4:05 p.m.
We just heard people yelling and screaming to get down.
Witnesses heard gunshots and saw victims lying on the ground.
There was a lady on the stair, unconscious, blood on her face, blood on the stairway, blood on either. We didn't know what happened.
At 4:06, 911 received its first call.
I was trying to listen to what happened and be on the phone with 911, and we were just hoping that it would be over soon.
As terrified coworkers shoved desks against doors, the shooter made his way through the building. As he swiped his key card to move from unit to unit, the victims fell one by one. I
don't know what kind of person would do something like that.
Between 4 and 4:16, he shot Mary Louise Gale, Alexander Mikhail Gusev, Catherine Nixon, Michelle Langer, Ryan Cox, Robert Williams, Christopher Rapp, Tara Gallagher, Lakita Brown, Richard Nettleton, Herbert Snelling, Joshua Hardy.
The most devastating day in the history of Virginia Beach.
Outside, police established a command post. At 4:19, the suspect's name is dispatched. 3 minutes later, at 4:22, Virginia Beach HR sent out an urgent email to all city employees telling them to shelter in place.
And I'm just glad that they alerted us in enough time so we wouldn't be outside when everything was occurring.
SWAT entered the building at 4:26. A long gun battle ensued.
Suspect did shoot a police officer. Officers returned fire. Suspect is deceased.
Building 2 was secured at 5:34. Workers began to emerge and fall into each other's arms. Their loved ones waited anxiously at a family reunification center set up at Princess Anne Middle School at 6 p.m. At 9 p.m., the grim task of death notifications began. It would end with the final notification at 1 the following morning.
Stephanie also has an interactive timeline on WAVY.com.
Well, this past year has been emotionally tough for the victims' families, and it's safe to say there has been no closure. Michelle Langer went by the nickname Missy. The 60-year-old worked as an administrative assistant in the Department of Public Utilities for 12 years. 10 on Your Side's Andy Fox talked with her sister, who's at her home in Florida.
Public Utilities Administrative Assistant Missy Langer, one of the first killed that horrific day.
When people exited, they had to step over my sister.
Langer shot in Building 2's South Side stairwell, going home for the weekend.
It wants to take me to the floor sometimes, like the wind got knocked out of me.
Missy's sister, Debbie Barato from Florida.
Pleasant, smiling all the time, joking all the time, hugging. She was just a very personable type person.
Barato emailed us personal items from Missy's office. She was very outgoing, loved to laugh, loud and long and clear.
If she heard people laughing, she would walk to wherever that laughing was coming from. She wanted to know what they were laughing about.
And then a call from afar.
I can't accept it. You know, I can accept that she's gone, but I can't accept how she was taken.
A roller coaster year of sadness.
I just wanted to stay in bed and try not to think about it.
Angry. How could something like this happen?
Wanting to know why, wanting answers.
Mystery.
Not satisfied with a lot of things that we weren't getting from the city.
Right or wrong, many of the families think toxic work environment led to the shooter's rage.
Per a lot of employees, that man was not treated very kindly.
Debbie thinks court action against supervisors is not too extreme.
They pushed this guy over the edge.
And she says Missy may have had issues with her own supervisor.
I would ask her, how is your boss treating you today?
Debbie's devastating loss led her to the Virginia General Assembly.
Very frustrating. We want this done.
Frustrating. They got funding for an independent state investigation, but COVID-19 had other plans, delayed it. Debbie, afraid the sadness will never go away.
I want to think of her in a positive manner. I don't want to think of her in the stairwell.
She misses her sister's voice, the laughs, the ups and downs.
There's nightmares. I get up in the middle of the night and walk around the house, and I still do that now.
For Debbie, Missy will always be an arm's length away. I won't cry, no, I won't cry, as long as you stand by me. I'm Andy Fox, 10 on your side.
So many questions still today. Some are the same now as they were at this time last year. Investigative reporter Chris Horan looks at where the investigations have led.
The lead investigators in this tragedy were naturally Virginia Beach police. However, they did not want to comment for this report, saying they would rather focus on the victims and their families at this time. I did get a chance to speak with Congresswoman Elaine Luria. She has a personal stake in both the incident and the aftermath.
For a while, I felt like my job was to give hugs. I mean, I went to 14 either funeral wakes or memorial services. I personally knew people who were in the building, when this happened, and had to walk out, through the area where the shooting happened.
And so many are still asking the same questions a year later.
We've heard from family members of the deceased, spoken to people who are survivors and injured themselves, and everyone has the same questions, like why? Why would someone do something like this?
In its report, independent consultant Hillard Hines mirrored much of what police had found. No mental health history, no manifesto, no observations from colleagues that a public works engineer who'd worked there 9 years would explode in a fatal inferno of rage.
There's just so many unanswered questions as far as the motive of the shooter.
Police found no childhood trauma, no troubling incidents in his early life. They debunked theories that the shooter was angry over being denied a promotion. He had no criminal history. Police say after his politely worded resignation that afternoon, he got 2 legally purchased handguns from his car, re-entered the building, and murdered 12 people. The consultant's report credited the bravery and actions of first responders on May 31st. It recommended renovations for Building 2, now delayed because of COVID, as well as adding 19 employees and establishing a threat assessment team. So far, 5 of those 19 have been funded. Luria worked to get the post office across the street named for Ryan Keith Cox, in honor of his bravery in the face of danger.
Rushed into the line of fire to try to save co-workers, and he did save the lives of several people, and rushed back out to try to help more people, but was killed in the shooting because of his heroic action to try to save more people.
And Luria worked with Senator Mark Warner to make any contributions to the Virginia Strong Fund tax deductible for both the donors and the recipients. Even with haunting questions unanswered, Luria has hope for the tragedy's legacy.
Virginia Beach is strong. Virginia Beach is better than this. Virginia Beach can rise above this.
Virginia Beach detectives hope to have their final report by the fall of this year. In the meantime, the state budget that just passed included funding for a commission to look further into the mass shooting. Delegate Kelly Converse Fowler says she's anxious for that commission to get started. While she concedes that some questions may never be answered, she does hold hope that it will provide some sense of closure. Chris Horn, 10 on your side.
And those who worked inside Building 2 stopped today to remember what happened to their colleagues 1 year ago. But on every other given day, many still continue on with their jobs. As Brett Hall shows us, it's still a difficult task.
Yes, the events of May 31st shook all of us. However, one can argue not one department in the city of Virginia Beach was affected more than that of public utilities. They provide water and sewer services to us every day. But on that day, 6 of their members were killed at the hands of someone they had worked alongside in the same department going on 9 years. Following the shooting, claims that the department must have a toxic work environment surfaced, all while the director, Bob Montague, had the responsibility of continuing service to the citizens. Today, in his first TV interview since the events, he explains the challenges that still exist.
It certainly ranks as the worst day in my life.
Bob Montague was inside his office on the second floor of Building 2 when all hell broke loose. As unprepared as any of us would be for a situation like that. Even less prepared, the 24-year veteran of the city felt about the process of trying to tighten as much of it as he could back up.
Very hard for any of us to believe that we're already a year out from this event. The impacts of that day are still very, very evident.
There was so much loss all at one time. Most valuable, yes, the lives, but
part of the challenge was that in a single day you lose your office facilities. You're trying to stand up temporary facilities and locations that are less than ideal.
The Public Utilities Call Center has been run out of an old school cafeteria. Others have taken up residence in storage closets or trailers.
The responsibilities never go away. So you're really in a position where you have to focus on service delivery.
But focusing also has been easier said than done. Currently, roughly 20% of the positions in the department are vacant. Turnover has been constant, and Montague says there is no doubt in his mind some people left solely because of the tragedy.
Everybody reacts differently. Everybody recovers differently.
And of those who are left, productivity varies depending on the day.
For whatever reason, they find themselves in a state of mind where they're not productive and aren't able to work and need to go home.
Montague says on a personal level, he has never questioned himself more.
In trying to lead, you start to question whether or not you're in a position where you're capable to do that.
Still, he presses on.
I would ask that the public maintain their patience with us as we continue to try to heal.
He says he and many of his employees won't give up on their quest, bringing the department to a place where it is providing service better than it ever has before. A goal Montague believes his 6 colleagues were working on that fateful Friday that they left this earth.
We can't think of a better way to try to honor them than to carry on that legacy.
In Virginia Beach, Brett Hall, 10 on your side.
12 innocent lives were taken, 4 seriously injured, and dozens of other city workers who found themselves between life and death. 10 on your side's Andy Fox has one worker's story of survival.
1 year ago, Tom Colson came face to face with evil, this close, about 6 feet.
Was the last known location where he was shooting through the door into the hallway.
531 police radio traffic. Virginia Beach police trying to isolate the shooter.
Hey, Coley, advise when we can send some rescue teams to get the casualties out.
This was all unfolding where Tom Colson worked.
We need access key. The doors are locked. We need access keys.
He was there in the horror.
Everybody off the phone, there's an active shooter, get to my office.
1 year later, we returned to Building 2, and he remembers.
My cubicle, it was where that first window is, it was that right directly down from there.
Public Utilities account clerk Tom Colson had already seen the shooter, but like others, didn't know he was the shooter until they eventually saw the gun.
Eyes were straight ahead. Even when my coworker was telling him, stop, put the gun down, he didn't even turn to look or anything. He just kept walking. Got secured in the office. That's when I heard the gunshots that took one of my friends' lives.
Colson would later learn that friend was Ryan Keith Cox. Colson thinks his own life was spared due to friendly pleasantries with the shooter at work. For Building 2 workers, it has been a year of leaning.
Me and my coworkers, we leaned on each other a lot, always checking in, hey, are you okay, how are you doing?
1 year later, Colson finds himself on edge in public.
I had a severe anxiety attack.
That was December 31st, here at Pembroke Mall, a children's New Year's Eve party, a flashback.
When the balloons came down, the little children started stepping on the balloons, what sounded like gunshots to me, and then somebody behind me had a party popper. which sounded exactly like the weapon that was used. I had a pretty bad anxiety attack and had to get my daughter and leave. My instinct was, oh my God, it's happening again.
Colson, who's a veteran, gets most of his health care counseling at the VA hospital.
I've been seeing counselors there, and I'm going to, I've branched out and I'm going to see a therapist out in town.
Colson and his therapist talk about the 531 ripple effect, like a stone in the water.
That one day has just changed the course of everything.
1 year later, Colson faces flashbacks, images of the killer's face.
And most of them involve him walking around with a gun. And unfortunately, some of the nightmares, I don't make it out. Some of them I do.
When you say don't make it out, what do you mean? You get shot and killed?
I do.
It would be a nice ending to the story that everything's okay for Tom Colson, but as you can see, 1 year later, it is not. He calls it his new normal. I'm Andy Fox, 10 on your side.
And for many, that raw pain from 1 year ago is still a daily reminder. 911 dispatchers opened up for the first time since the tragedy, and they told 10 on your side's Jason Marks about the day they will never forget.
911, where's the emergency?
For a 911 dispatcher,
no 2 days are the same.
Every day comes with a new set of challenges.
Never. There's never 2 days that are like, it's like a snowflake.
But there is one day
We never want that to happen again.
Virginia Beach dispatchers will never forget.
It was horrific. It was something you never, or at least I never, thought could happen.
May 31st, day shift was just ending. That's when the first call came in.
It was a normal, routine kind of day, nice. Then all of a sudden we went from 0 to 60, all hands on deck.
The board was lit up, like 20, 30, 40 calls. And at that point you knew that there was something like terrible going on.
It's chaos. Everybody on the phone, everybody talking, plus you have some of the radio traffic that you're hearing.
Initial call, I thought it was somebody had fallen in the parking lot, and it ended up significantly different.
Police got a call around 4:30 this afternoon of shots fired.
It quickly became very apparent this day would be like no other.
I know from one specific call that I did have, as I was finishing up the call, I did hear gunshots in the background, and then the line clicked.
There was a guy saying that somebody had told him somebody had been shot. He didn't have a whole lot of details. He had already barricaded himself and coworkers in one of their offices. So at that point, it was just trying to get as much information as I could from him, tell him to barricade the door, turn the lights off, stay as quiet as he could, and hide.
Every trained employee in the building jumped on a phone line. They knew something wasn't right, but for many, it wasn't until hours later they learned how bad it truly was.
I think it was probably been later that night after we got off work and we had time to slow down, think about it, and ask ourselves, did this really just happen?
It was soul crushing. It was devastating just to know that one of your peers can do something like that just out of nowhere.
Dispatchers say they relied on their training as much as possible. Many of them, even a year later, still reliving those awful moments.
There are certain things that you will never forget, mostly the sounds of what you heard.
I go back and read the case still to this day. Read the comments, read who called, read the times, go over it in my head every day.
Not in the city. It doesn't happen in our city. You see it on the news, you see all the broadcasts of all the other places, and you're removed from it until you actually have to dive in.
But even though the pain is still fresh, dispatchers say they're glad they were there to help.
People don't call because it's a happy occasion.
911, where's the emergency?
But when they call and it's the worst day of their life, I want to be there to try to help them get to the next day of their life.
Dispatchers tell me they hope something like that never happens again, but they say the reality is that it will. Jason Marks, 10 on your side.
Now, if you would like to hear more from the dispatchers on what they went through during the tragedy in Virginia Beach last year, head to WAVY.com. We've added their full interviews.
Now, the former Virginia Beach police chief also talked about what happened 1 year ago today. Retired Police Chief Jim Cervera was just getting off a plane when he learned about the tragedy. Cervera rushed to the scene. He told us that he was proud of the work his officers did that day and how the city came together as one.
I remember most the fantastic response the officers had to get into the building and stop him. That's second to none. I really remember the compassion that they showed all the victims, those who were deceased and those who were injured, the compassion the officers showed each other. I remember how well the organization came together and worked through the entire process.
Cervera says what he remembers most were the hundreds of people who came out every night to make the makeshift memorial, to pay their respects, and to thank his officers.
Earlier this week, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam held his usual news conference on the coronavirus pandemic. But he spent a few moments remembering the 12 victims of the mass shooting.
Please join me in a moment of silence in their memory. Thank you.
There are no public memorials scheduled because of the coronavirus, only virtual ceremonies and events. You can find that list on WAVY.com.
Coming up, what to tell your children. I'll have advice from an expert at CHKD on how to talk to kids about the tragedy in Virginia Beach as 1 year look back continues.
Plus, a look through the lens of a still camera as we remember the tragedy in Virginia Beach 1 year ago today. We're back in just 1 minute.
We know many of you who have children in your care were already dealing with a lot before today's anniversary of the Virginia Beach mass shooting. And that's why I spoke with a child and adolescent psychiatrist to give you some advice working through this as a family during such a stressful time.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
In the year that's followed Virginia Beach's darkest day, the massive memorials have moved from sidewalks and pews, but a community continues to mourn and heal.
You expect that the anniversary will bring up difficult and strong feelings. I think that this year, and this is where COVID comes in, we want to think that everyone may be in a position to have bigger, stronger feelings than they might have without COVID.
Including kids coping with a changing world. I spoke with Dr. Mary Margaret Gleason, Vice Chief of the CHKD Mental Health Program, about how to help them mark the anniversary of an incomprehensible tragedy in the midst of an unprecedented health crisis.
Being physically separate shouldn't mean that we don't mark this as a community, especially for the people who feel moved to do so. Each family has their own rituals, and it may be lighting a candle together, it may be prayers, it may be spending some time outside, it may be creating a sign or a wreath.
She says, just don't avoid the topic.
As much as I wanted to minimize his exposure, he was drawn to it because it was on the news.
Children may still have questions, like Jewel Cherry's 11-year-old son, MJ.
What would make someone so angry to go in and hurt people that he worked with every day? This wasn't a random shooting.
Let them know that having memories and feelings is healthy.
Typical responses, they may see more mood changes, they may see irritability, they may see anxiety, they may see children needing reassurance about their own safety. They may also see changes in sleep or eating.
This is still fresh. Give them space, but let them know that it's okay to talk and not to live in fear.
There will be discussions, there will be memories coming back for some of them. So one of the first things to remind children and ourselves about is how rare these events are. They are incredibly powerful and tragic, but also don't happen that often.
Certainly, we all hope it never happens again here.
But now I'm found, was blind, but now I see.
Now, Dr. Gleason says, if you or your child experience a resurgence of emotions for more than just a few days, if there are any thoughts of self-harm or hurting someone else, it's time to reach out for help. You'll find links to useful resources under this story on WAVY.com.
As journalists, we often view tragedy from an emotional distance. It is required for fact-based reporting. But the Virginia Beach shootings touched all of us at WAVY TV 10. So in the days that followed, I picked up my camera and spent some time alone with you. It was a terrible day. The pure weight of those words made me reach for the camera as a form of therapy. Photographs freeze moments forever. It was exactly 8 days after the routine of city business on a lazy Friday afternoon pivoted to terror. Here's what we know at this point. A report of shots fired less than an hour ago at Building 2. And you're looking at the human reaction from this Saturday morning at the Municipal Center. The photos trigger emotions that still flood the mind and heart a year after I captured these soulful expressions of sorrow. The air was heavy and damp, as if God were still wiping our collective tears. These faces, the eyes, spoke loudly of the weight that descended on Virginia Beach. I didn't talk to anyone that morning. I just wanted to see. I knew it was right to grieve. Even therapy dogs looked overwhelmed. Oh, the irony. For human hands appeared to console their troubled spirits. I also noticed a longing for connection. Bowed heads prayed for the Lord to heal broken hearts, and that healing continues 1 year later. And those images haunt. I could only spend about 30 minutes at the memorial site before leaving with those photos, many of which I haven't viewed until I decided to share them with you. Looking at them now is no less powerful than on that rainy Saturday. They remind us of what we lost and why we need to value every moment that we have together. Anita?
We want to thank you for watching our tribute to the victims 1 year after the tragedy in Virginia Beach. It was a moment that changed our community forever. Mayor Bobby Dyer called it the most devastating day in city history.
We leave you now with another look at those 12 lives lost, the men and women who left us too soon. We are still healing, but we will get through this, and that's why we adopted the motto, Virginia Beach Strong.